Okay. There it goes. Yeah. All right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second day of the Level 8 debates. Woo! So, anyway, there's going to be more people coming from other levels, possibly, to come watch. I can see this team over here is very excited about, destroying this team, and this team is excited about, defeating this other team. We're going to try to do both debates today. Violent video games lead to real violence is what we're going to start with first. The team that's over here are going to be arguing for the fact that, yes, violent video games lead to real violence in the real world. Okay, and the team over here are going to be arguing against that. And by the way, I'm streaming this on YouTube. I know some of y'all don't prefer it to be on YouTube, that kind of thing. Later on, I can maybe set it to private or something so that it's not available for people to see, only you guys or something. I'm guessing, right? Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, and other people might feel the same way. I might do that later on. I'll write that down to set the video to private. But at any rate, so the way this works, of course. Side, and I'll hand out a survey, of course, and you can tell everybody, you can decide if their arguments persuaded you or not. All right, coming up to the big mic, someone to make their opening remarks. The team agree, violent video games do lead to real violence. All right, let's give them a warm welcome. Yay, then.
Hello, this is Minju.
Hey, Minju.
And, I agree with that video game leads to violence. I'm hearing more and more people saying the level of violence on video game is really shaping young people's thoughts. And then you go the further step, and that's the movies. You see these movies, they are so violent, and yet a kid is able to see the movies. Here's an example. In Munich, Germany, an 18-year-old gunman who killed 9 people in July 2016 was a fan of first-person shooter video games. According to reports, this detail led many to worry that violent video games may be negatively affecting their own children. And also studies have shown that playing violent video games can increase aggressive thoughts, behaviors, and feelings in both the short term and long term. The longer that individuals are exposed to violent games, the more likely they are to have aggressive behaviors, thoughts, and feelings. These effects have been seen in studies in both Eastern and Western countries. So I strongly agree with violent video games leads to violence. Thank you.
Is that it? Fred? Opening remarks? Okay, cool. We have about 5 minutes left, but they're yielding the rest of their time to this team. All right. So that was the opening remarks from this team. Citing one example from Munich. Interesting. Okay. So now we have 7 minutes for this team to make their opening remarks. All right, let's give them a hand, everybody. Yay! Yeah. All right.
Good morning, everyone. I completely disagree with my classmates that the violent video games lead to real violence. Violence is strongly influenced by a person's genetic makeup, environment, family bonding, individual characteristics, peer relationship, cultural shaping, and cognitive skills. In a series of experiments with more than 3,000 participants done by University of York, found that violent video games do not necessarily aggression in game players. Oxford University psychologist Andrew Jablonski and Cardiff University psychologist Nata Weinstein set out to test the finding of researchers who claim, like Minju, violent video games induce aggressive tendencies in players. Their top-line finding is that their study did not support the position that violent gaming relates to aggressive behavior. In fact, video games are tied to decrease in actual violence. An economic study published in February 2016 found a reduction in crime in the week after major video game release. A handful of similar studies conducted from a range of perspectives have come to the same conclusion. My friend Abe, she will review their claims.
I love it.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
A lot of research say that when a person is violent, it's because some psychologist issue. They grow up in a violent family, neighborhood, or have a bad friends with bad influence, where the bad things are normal for them. We can say that people that have violence issue like more to play this kind of games because there is a way to express their ideas or desire in their mind. But in the other hand, people that doesn't have these issues, they know how to separate the reality from the fantasy. People that have violence issues mostly all the time doesn't like to play video games. They spread to their desire to build violence, killing its animals, or killing them, or to torturing animals. No, it's because they like to play video games or stuff like that.
That's it? All right, cool. Give me a hand. All right, give me a hand, everybody. Those are the opening remarks. All right, cool. Already a little confrontational. I heard like Amir saying, calling out people's names over there, etc. I'm going to turn the camera away. I'm going to leave your voice up, but I'm going to let you up. Okay, when you come up. All right, so now at this point, they've already made their opening remarks, and welcome. What level are you folks from?
5.
5. Again, you're welcome to level 5. Great to have you. Now at this point, this team gets a chance to make a rebuttal against some of the points they make over here. All right, cool. Let's give her a hand, everybody. Yay, her. Okay. Yes. You're not on camera. All right. Anytime.
Hello, everybody. Other than aggression, there are more side effects to be seen, for the people and the children, kids who play video games. Video games activities should be just limited to 1 or 2 hours per day. Because they are harmful for the brain development, they lead to addiction, and they harm family life. Firstly, other than showing the aggressiveness, they have depletion in their brain hippocampus. They face higher risks of neurological illness, including Alzheimer, depression, and schizophrenia. And secondly, it leads to addiction where 1 to 2 hours of play doesn't suffice the gamer. He wants to play more and more. One of my friend's daughter had this addiction problem where she was only happy when she was gaming. Otherwise, she had withdrawal syndromes. She used to lie to her family members regarding the amount of the time spent playing. She was always at one place without maintaining her daily schedule. And this impacts her daily tasks and studies. And thirdly, it affects the family life. The gamer deceives family members and others about the amount of time spent on gaming. As long as the gamer will find himself aloof from his family members, he may have problems with his marriage and loses his job due to this. So in conclusion, video games may provide several benefits, but only if they are enjoyed in moderation.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, each team still has 3 minutes. Y'all want to say anything? It's up to you. You want to, Charles? Yay. All right. Yeah.
Hey everybody, So, but the violent game, the American Psychology Association considers violent game a risk factor for any type of aggression. So in 2017, the APA Task Force and Violent Media concluded that violent video game exposure was linked to increased aggressive behavior, so and emotion as well as decrease. So any type of person who are exposed to multiple violent games are more likely to behave aggressively.
Cool. All right. That's it. Yeah. Okay, I give my hand, everybody. Yay, that's their counter response. All right. Ooh, it's on now. All right. So that's their counter arguments there. By the way, anybody here enjoy playing video games in general? Anybody? Yeah, you do? Oh, no, you raise your hand now. Yeah, you do. Yeah, first person shooter. So maybe some of you, this might be very personal. Some of you are just like, I don't know or care. But yeah, think about whether or not they persuaded you one way or the other. Now I'm going to give 5 minutes to this team to make a rebuttal. Let's give Ms. Deborah a hand, give them some confidence. It's hard to get in front of people.
Thank you, my friend. Okay. My friends say the university has talked about the video games not, it's causes violence for people, but the professor of sociology at the Western Michigan University, who says the relationship between video games and violence is insignificant. The Supreme Court in 2011 diminished any link between the video games and the violence. A report by the U.S. Secret Service and U.S. Department of Education examined 37 incidents of target school violence between 1974 and 2000. Of the 41 attackers studied, 27% had an interest in violence movies, 24 in violence books, 37 exhibit interest in their own violence writings, and 12% show interest on violence video games. So the difference is huge, like the books, like movies 27, and the video games is just 12. So the report did not find relationship between playing video games and the real life. So 61.9% the people play video games to help to relax. 47 to forget the problem. 45 help. They say help to get the anger out. I can tell my husband, who knows him, he's a really calm person. He's so lovely, you know. He's so funny. Not like me. But he plays violent video games. And he's not violent, you know, like I'm alive, I'm here. So I approve the violent video games is not the conflict, the things that make the people kill another one. The study says by the age 7, children can distinguish fantasy from reality. So can tell the difference between video games and the real world. So kids see the fantasy violence all the time. From the Harry Potter, from the Minions to Bugs Bunny, and even on the Tom and Jerry. So the violence is there. The violence is everywhere. Even inside their own house about the parents. So the violence is there. And it's not about the video games, or you know, like if the people act with violence, it's because they want to, not because it's with violence. And my husband cousin, he is 9, today he's 10 years old, and he has a mental problem. But when he was 18 years old, he didn't speak at all. So he used the violent video games, even them, to speak to his mother. So the violent video games, it's on my, it's in my family, you know. I am the proof that violent video games didn't make this little boy a violent person. He's so intelligent, and now he's making things through the video games. He's learning a lot of things through the video games. So that's all.
That's it. Yeah, give me a hand, everybody. Yay, Deborah. Good. Good use of your time there. That's right. All right. Oh. Yeah. By the way, first of all, I gotta say, both teams have been did an excellent job researching and looking for examples of where violence might crop up. There might be a connection between violent video games and real violence. And this team, of course, finding other research that counters that, and even bringing in some personal anecdotes with Deborah and her. It's just fortunate that you got put in this team, right? Because you have first-hand experience with that. That's interesting. I'm glad to hear it. Okay, but I'm glad you're bringing that out. Be creative, both sides are doing that. I'm going to let this team, of course, now have 2 minutes just to summarize their basic points and start thinking about what questions you might want to ask these people, because I'm going to open it up for questions and answers. So 2 minutes for closing remarks this time. Yeah. And you're not on camera.
Okay, as Deborah gave the positive example of the playing video games, I would like to give the negative example.
Great.
Okay, I have seen my own daughter playing video games, you know, but I feel she is so very addictive, you know. I feel her grades falling down because of video games. She is not interested in any social. Because of that, we have, you know, personal relationships we have strained, you know, because of the games, because I don't allow her to play game and she wants to play. So, and there is increase in anxiety, and the other problem is obesity. So, video games does affect, you know, according to me. And it's all this video gaming world, it's all about money. They don't show more of the side effects, they rather show more positive things because they want people to play game, you know, because it's a business thing. So I feel, you know, it has to be moderate and monitored. And 1 to 2 hours is more than enough, otherwise it leads to addiction.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, cool. Give me a hand, everybody. That's it? You guys? Yeah. Or you still got a minute if you want to, Charles. You want to weigh in? Oh, okay. That's okay. You got 30 seconds. You want to say something? I believe in you, man. You can do it. All right.
So my point of view is clear about violent video games cause bad effect on people who play or who is addicted to violent video game. So I would like to ask those people here, so you guys don't agree with the point that violent video games don't lead to violent people, right? So why some games have age restriction on? So that's my question.
Okay, that's time's up. Okay, cool. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, cool. You go ahead and say whatever you want. That's fine. Save that for later. It's up to you. Ooh, challenge, Mr. Charles. All right. Yeah.
Well, my friend Charles first, he talked about 2017 task force finding. Here's the rebuttals that Mr. Andrew Jablonski, the psychologist of Oxford University, and the Cardiff University psychologist Netta Weinstein said about 2017 task force that, quote, this pattern of findings further suggests that links reported in the literature might be influenced by publications bias, selective reporting, or an artifact of unobserved or hidden moderators. In other words, the 2017 task force's conclusion that video games violence makes players aggressive is highly suspect. And he is talking about why there's age restriction. Because the people, the different age, they have different brain, what you said, they don't understand like everything. The different age, they understand differently. So that's why there is age restricted for playing games. Pretty much everything my classmates said here is wrong. Here are the facts. The evidence is abundantly clear at this point. Violent video games do not cause violence. Long-time studies of youth have found evidence that early violence game playing is associated with later violence, decreased empathy, or conduct problems. In fact, the release of popular violent games like Grand Theft Auto are associated with immediate declines and suicidal violence. In long-term relationships show that increased violent games consumption is associated with reduced youth violence. And we have to remember that youth violence is down by more than 80% from 25 years ago. Also, playing violent games like Grand Theft Auto does not appear to decrease empathy toward women. Internationally, the countries that consume the most video games per capita are among the least violent. Here's the truth. Violent video games don't play any role, even a small one, in creating mass shootings like the one that happened at Santa Fe High School. New brain imaging studies make clear that people's brains just don't respond to fiction violence like they do real life violence.
Okay, time's up.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, wow. Give me a hand, everybody. Yeah. All right. Among the many things I could say about both teams, I gotta say I like how confrontational Amir is. You guys are wrong. That's what he said. Whether or not he honestly feels this way. Okay, folks. Now you've heard both sides. Now I'm gonna kind of open up for a question and answer session. And if nobody else has a question necessarily or a comment for either side, then I'll of course ask a few questions back and forth. Anybody here want to weigh in with a comment and or a question for these people, huh? Yeah. Or not necessarily, huh? Okay, well, I'll tell you what, maybe you'll think of one in just a few minutes. These folks got put in the team, all these people got put in their team because they pulled a slip of paper out of a hat randomly. They didn't know which side they were going to be put on. In fact, Charles just found out like 30 minutes ago he was going to do it. All right, but nice improvisation with that whole, hey, why are there, age restrictions, whatever. I'm just curious, do you sincerely feel the way you feel, okay.
Pretty much that the violence of video games don't create any violence. But it's morally, I think not people to play violence video games. Other reason. Yeah, not for the reason that it's create violence in real life.
Morally compromising. You have an opinion about that? You kind of weighed in with your own life situation, and you honestly feel the way you're in the right table, correct?
My husband, he used to play, this is true, this is real life, so he used to play video games to relax, and I didn't believe at the time about that, like my husband was crazy, I thought, but I tried, and oh my gosh, this is so relaxed. And yeah, it's relaxing. And I think my family, for his family, the little kids who has a problem, this is true, it has been helping him by this time to keep memorizing things, you know, to keep his mind working. So I think and I found a lot of proof that video games not cause the violence for people, you know. And answering his question, as a movies, you know, like for kids under 12, it's true? Okay. Under 12 or 10 years old or whatever, and the kids are not allowed to watch this movie, but the movie doesn't make the people violent, you know, like it's the same with video games. If the kids don't are allowed to play, it's because they don't have age for that, but not because it's the violence. I don't think so.
Oh, okay, fair. So
No, like we are in the team to disagree. Like I have the same experience as Deborah. I have two brothers, and they used to love playing video games. But how I say, they know how to separate the reality for the fantasy. So they even know how to hold a handgun. They never in their life shooting someone or have been in a shooting range. So they don't have the curiosity that how it's going to feel to kill someone or slap someone because inside desire. Yeah, and I have something here that U.S. have been involved in a lot of incidents with young people that kill two others with handguns. And mostly all the time, they reveal that they have a psychological issue is because trust issues or bullying or rejection is for friends or family. And that is a way that they see that they can to resolve their problems, but it's not for violence games.
You're all in agreement on that. Yeah, so before I move over and ask them their personal opinion, does anybody think of a comment or a question that you'd like to ask either side? Yes, ma'am. Let's hear from you. All right. Okay.
Sorry, Deborah. But I have a question for you guys. At first, you said real violence is about the circumstances around the player, like family, relationship, and neighbor. So if a person who was in a family with like really trouble, father and mother were fighting, and in a bad neighbor, and they play violent video games. So if that happened, do you think they will lead to the real violence?
Okay. If they live in a bad neighborhood, that kind of thing. Were you directing the question over there? Or okay. And y'all want to say anything about that? Yeah.
Yeah, so they
nice to play violent video games.
they have a tendency to play violent video games. So
That kind of person is likely to more to play that kind of thing because they see that like normal or usual. So they could be a way to express what they want to do. But
Come from the real life, you know, about the video games, you know, about the bullying, what else did you say? The rejection. So this that person maybe can be violent because he saw something, not because he played the violent video.
Okay, cool. I want to give you all a chance to respond. If you all wanted to say anything in response to that, did anybody want to say? The camera's off of you, by the way. Yeah, so anybody want to? You don't have to.
Okay, I would like to ask a question to Deborah. How many hours did your husband play per day? Okay. For 5 hours per day.
that's not
Yeah, yeah. So he's been playing. I mean, they play every day, this much hours, 3 hours. And how old is he? Yeah. So I mean, it is for people with healthy brain and attitude. Yeah, they are okay. But it does have addiction and other problems. Obesity. It increases the weight.
My husband's brother, when he was single, he used to play every day by after school, maybe 4 p.m. to 1 to 8 a.m. So every day, every time, all the time, you know. So he didn't make him violent. So
It affects in years, you know. It doesn't take a short time.
Yeah, the playing time for me is not good for health, you know. So, I mean, you say he used to play like from what time to what time?
maybe 9 p.m. to 1 a.m.
4 hours. That's not good for health, you know.
Well, it's for like me, but the topic, that's the topic is that violence, you get make a big violence.
I know. I'm just giving like my point of view because this one we are out of the debate now. Yeah. No, we are out of the debate. So. Yeah. But just to let you know that any kind of person who play violent video game are linked to be violent person, for sure. Yeah.
How do you feel honestly, Charles? I'm just curious.
Now, my personal point is, I can give like, when I was like 10, 11, 12 years back home.
Yeah.
So we had like a field trip for the school. So we went out to do like some research with like friends, and so we have to bring some animal like frog to study for the next day. So we went out with some friends. Those friends were like, they like to play violent video game at home. So when we went out on the field, so there was like a problem. Somebody, I don't know what happened, so they start to fight. So the fight ended with like one hand broken.
Oh.
Yeah. So and the next day at school, so the news came out, and everybody knows that this guy was like really violent person because all he knows is like playing violent video game. Yeah, that's it. It's happened. It's happened for the real. Yeah.
Do you sincerely feel like that it did lead in your personal?
In my personal opinion. So, yeah.
I think my generation, man, your main concern is about waste of time and obesity.
Yeah, and it leads to long-term effects, you know. It's not like if you play for 1 year, 2 years, it will show after 5 years, I feel. You know, the aggressiveness will be shown after 5 years. It does lead to aggressiveness.
All right, cool. And I'm sorry, did anybody else want to weigh in with a question or comment? Yeah, what's up, Mr. Rahim? And I promise I'll let you finish. No, I promise I'll let you give your own personal opinion. All right, Mr. Rahim, let's hear it.
So I feel that violent video games don't actually make violent people, because I've played video games pretty much when I was a kid, like pretty much all my life, and it was all about guns. And but I never. I mean, I used to be a kid, like, you know, I used to be a short-tempered kid back in the day when I was a kid, but not anymore. Like like you said, over the years, I've become smarter. And actually my mom was proud of me, because I used to be one of the kids who would always create problems for everybody. But, you know, with years, with time, even like if I want to shoot a gun, I go to a gun range. I don't create violence outside. I know where to do it, where not to do it. But I agree with the point where they said that it does affect your physical health, but not as much as your mental health. Because when you're playing those games, you're thinking a lot. A lot is going through your head, and that actually helps you in the world. Not, I mean, if you're sitting at home doing nothing, that's better than, you know, you're thinking, your brain's working constantly.
Smarter than
No, but I think not everybody is same. Everybody brain doesn't work in the same way. There are some like who become smarter and there are some who becomes dumber, you know. So not everybody is same.
It's not working the same way. Okay, but if you're gonna catch Bundy, was a murderer. He hated women and killed them. I was writing about him from my city, and and I just found out he just on the week when he got penalty death, and he just found out on that week when he was he knew he would die. He was dying. He knew his own mother was his sister. His sister was hated by his father, your grandfather, so great father. So this situation, you know, who he lived, make him violent. So if you don't know on Netflix, you can see he's really violent. And he never played video games on that time, that time, because I don't think he didn't exist at all. Yeah, it's 70s. So the situation in his family makes him violent. No?
Okay, cool. All right. Sorry, I'm just curious, Minju, were you put on the right team that you agree necessarily? I'll let you finish up this, and then we'll go on to the next debate, because I know time is of the essence. I know.
Yeah, I feel like violent video games leads to violence, because I already told you in Munich there was a murder, and there was the 18-year-old gunman killed 9 people. And then he was a big fan of first-person shooter video games, and also, as her mentioned, not everyone kills people because of violent game. But some people, sometimes it happens, bad things happen, that's a problem, right? So,
yeah, give them both a big hand. Everybody's passionately defending their position. Okay, if you have your surveys, please just put them in this bucket here. We're going to make a transition to let the other team do it. This is going to feel great. Just get it all out of the way. And tomorrow is going to be a short day. It's going to be good. So you all can make your way to the middle. Thank you visitors for coming. And yeah, look at that. Oh, being friends again. That's sweet. You can put all your surveys in that bucket there, and the other people can get in place, and we'll get you out of here in a timely manner. Do another debate in just a moment. While I do that, I'm going to hand out a survey. Nasser's coming and watching the debate.